Hey y'all, how are you? Woo! How are y'all doing today? It is an amazing Sunday. You know why? Because we're on top of the ground and we're not in the ground today. Come on. That's a reason to be so enthusiastic about today. Y'all, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining me here on Lady J Speaks. You guys, we have a great show today. Listen, I was on somebody else's live not too long ago. She's an amazing diva. If she joins us today, I'm going to call her out, but she was amazing. And so I met her at an event and she bought my book. And she told me, she said, hey, I have to do a live on your book. Like it was everything. I have to do a live on your book. And so many don't know, because I changed my name, that I'm originally a writer. That is my first love. That's my first heart. That's my first passion. I am a writer, right? And so met her at this event, saw her live. She mentioned about doing my book. And then I thought to myself, you ain't even talked about your book. So you did. So I was like, conviction. So I said, you know what? Today we're going to talk about my book, and we're going to talk about 2 chapters. Listen, anytime I go anywhere, and I talk at a lot of youth events, a lot of women's events, I always, when I get asked to talk about this book, I talk about these 2 chapters. And let me tell you, it always raises an eyebrow. Like, let me see if I can do it. Like that. Hey, Celeste. It raises an eyebrow when I talk about this book, because the 2 chapters that I talk about, I mean, the whole book is provocative, especially for a Christian writer. Most people don't expect Christian writing, especially from a pastor, to sound like this. But I'm telling you, this book is so amazing. And let me show you guys. It's called It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. Now, with this particular book, you guys, I am under my pen name, which is Arthur J.W. Arthur J.W. So that's why a lot of people don't know that Lady J also is an author, a published author, actually. I have 2 books that I've written. We're going to be talking about It's Okay to Be a Good Girl on today. But I also have my first book and my baby that launched me, that took away a lot of my fears and insecurity, called Hope Exposed. So we have this one and we have this one. But we're going to be talking about this one today. And it's going to be good. Y'all ready? I don't know if y'all ready for this. Listen, let me tell you something. It's Okay to Be a Good Girl is one of those books that I feel like everybody should read. Everybody. And what I would like to do, I'm asking you, go to Amazon. It's everywhere. It's on Barnes and Nobles. But go to Amazon.com and cop you a copy. It's inexpensive, $12.99 for the book. And you guys, I promise you are going to love it. But I'm going to read, hey, Miss Kathy, I'm going to be reading for you today out of chapter 5 and another chapter in the book. And I'm telling you now, you want to get this. And the number one thing that I always hear when I talk about this book is how transparent I'm being. So if talking about sex or talking about intimacy or things like that is a little bit uncomfortable for you today, get uncomfortable with everybody on the line, because I'm telling you, I'm going to be talking about some stuff in chapter 2 or 3. I'm going to check it out, make sure I have the right chapter. And it's going to bless you. So let's tune in. Now, Kimberly, you have a copy. If you have your copy, Kimberly, read along with me. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the book or not, but I think Kimberly has a copy. So if you do, just pull it out and we're going to be reading from it today. Okay, you guys? So let's get started. Now, it's okay to be a good girl. The topic alone, like the title of the book alone, most of the time for people, it's kind of like, where is she going? Like, is she trying to judge me? Is she trying to say she better than me? Is she trying to say that she good and I'm not? On the contrary, I answer that question at the top of the book. Listen, this is one of the first things that I say, because people always assume, hey, maybe she thinks she better than me. I'm like, not at all. It's okay to be a good girl. It's not about being better than somebody. Listen, this book is all about this. And I'm going to read this first statement that's in chapter 1. And it's called, What is a Good Girl? Values, Morals, and Upbringing. It says this. Read this until you get it. This book is not a judgment call. It is a call to judgment regarding who you are, what you are doing, and why you are doing it as a girl or a woman. Listen, I say that at the top of the book because a lot of the time people assume that just from the title alone, like I said, that judgment call is wanting to call you out and put you in a corner and tap you on the head and say, bad girl. And it's not that type of thing. This book is just simply calling judgment to what we're doing. So it's asking us to wake up. So if I had to put a hashtag to it, it would be like, ladies, wake up. Where are you? What are you doing? And why are you doing it? Whether you're a woman or a girl, why are you doing what you're doing? And that why can span the gamut of your whole life. Pick something and say, why am I doing this? Why am I investing my time in this area? Right? So this book calls to you to get up and think about where you are in life and what you're doing in regards to who you are at the fiber of you. I'm talking about, like I said in this chapter about your upbringing. How true are you to that? Everybody gets to this place in their life where they feel like, hey, I've outgrown what I've learned when I grew up. I'm one of those people that I have learned that by growing up, you begin to appreciate more about where you came from. Hello, somebody. So you can't just throw that away. You got to be able to keep that foundation, ladies. We got to. Ladies, gentlemen, on the line, I know we grow up. I know we evolve. We go into this whimsical way of the world. And then we forget the good foundation that we came from and the good morals and ethics that we were taught. And it sends us in this tailspin as adults, and we don't quite know where our grounding is, right? And so this book is saying, hey, wake up. Come back to your grounding. Come back to your grounding. Come back to what first taught you, what first guided you, what first led you. Come on. What first kept you, what first surrounded you, what first gave you good common sense. Come on, somebody, right? So that's what this book is about. So we're going to talk about one of the favorite chapters in the book. Listen, I'm going to be reading from my iPad today. And I just cannot wait for you guys for us to get into this, okay? Now, this is chapter 3. So if you have it, you can read along with us. And this chapter is called The Struggle That a Good Girl Has, God versus Good Sex. Come on, listen. Y'all, this book, I am being very transparent because there is a time in my life where I honestly had to weigh out who and what I was going to love more, God or some good sex. Listen, and if you feel like, as a woman, I'm not going to put my stuff on you, but if you feel like you've never had to ask yourself, what are you going to do more, or what do you like or love more? I would say good for you. But in my case, that's not my story. I honestly was at a time in my life where I had to question whether I was going to be who God called me to be, or whether I wanted to continue to sex it up like I was. Okay. And I wasn't necessarily feeling all that bad about it. Okay. So let me just be really honest. But that's also what this book is about. It's about confronting you and telling the truth about you. And so I love that because me, as being a writer, I always want the people that read my book to really understand and explore that it's okay to tell yourself the truth. It's okay to tell yourself the truth. And I don't ever want people to read my book and feel like, wow, so what was she trying to say? And I'm being vague. No, I'm saying what I'm trying to say. I'm keeping it raw. I'm keeping it real. And I want you to be able to relate and to understand, because nothing makes the deliverance more sweet than when you can come out of it being a different person and being the person that God called you to be. Nothing is sweeter than that. I think that is the point of just elation, when you can come out of a situation and you can really, 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 you guys, begin to live a life that's on purpose, that's unapologetically true to who you are, saved, fun, and sexy, and all of that good stuff. And you don't have to answer to that for anybody. You don't have to make excuses for that. It is what it is. Amen. Come on. It just is what it is. So let's talk about this chapter. I'm going to read a little bit from it, and then I want to hear your thoughts as I'm reading that. We're going to talk about this, you guys, but it's called God versus Good Sex. Y'all ready? So here we go. Woo! My husband tell me I'll be writing Christian erotica sometimes, but I do. I I just want people to understand that when you're saved, it's not like we don't have a struggle. I also want people to get that perfection mindset out of women that are saved. Listen, we that are saved have the same urges of you that are not saved. Come on, somebody. So stop putting us in this bubble where we don't have these kind of experiences, because that's not true. Saved women are the biggest freaks, because I'm one of them. Okay? Saved women can be some of the biggest freaks. I'm not saying that's everybody. Let me not put that on y'all. I'm sorry. Lady J will take that one. I'll take one for the whole team. Okay? So, and sex is an important part of your life when you're saved or if you're not saved. It's just an important part of the human experience. Okay? So here we go. Chapter 3, God versus good sex. I kiss him and a surge of burning heat literally runs throughout my body in record time. I'd never felt this from my husband when I kissed him. Is this just lust, or is this my second chance at love? I couldn't be ready to love yet, could I? Let me clear this up. Up until this point, I have not been touched in nearly 3 to 4 months. My current reality is that my husband has chosen his mistress over his commitment. The divorce isn't even final, and yet he's fully engaged in another relationship. So if he can play, why can't I? At this time, I've missed everything that a man has to offer. The way they smell, the deepness in a man's voice that has the ability to make me moist, and the touch of a man's God-given strength that no woman can ever match. That strength was security to me. So this kiss is perhaps just a kiss to him, but to me, it says that somebody wants me. This want equals love, even if it is not the person that I want the love from. It's better than nothing. He wants me, so he loves me, right? You are so beautiful. He kisses me again on my lips while moving his hands to my thighs. It caused an eruption within me. His arm embraces my waist as his hands then move on to hold the center of my back. In every word that proceeds out of his mouth, he seems to encourage my existence as a woman. Once again, Nathan calls me beautiful. Is this just another pickup line? The thought does cross my mind. If so, he just picked me up. Like I said, it has been nearly 6 months since my husband decided he wanted another woman. The pain is still fresh. It's like my pain has been put into a Ziploc bag. Troy, my husband, simply told me that he was leaving me, went out of town to continue working, and did not come back. But before I knew he wasn't coming back, I'd hoped that maybe he would come back home and choose me. It is now Memorial Day weekend of 2012, and for sure, it's the certainty that he is not returning has been secured by the fact that I'd learned he spent the weekend with his mistress and her family. He was not coming back, and I was not his choice. This is just a snippet from this chapter, God versus good sex. And in this chapter, I can be so transparent in saying that I was going through a divorce. I've been married, and I'm now on my second marriage and my final. Amen. I claim that. I have a great marriage, a husband with a great heart. And I was in my first marriage, and I just really thought that it was gonna be forever. And at this time of this book, and not necessarily at the time of the book, but in this book, I portray a time in my life where I was with this guy for nearly 3 years. And although I was going to church and preaching and going to church and laying hands and going to church and praising God and praying, I was still battling having an on again, off again sexual relationship with him. It was so satisfying at the time because what it was doing was numbing the pain that I was feeling. I was so pissed. I felt so dejected as a woman to be left by a man I had given 14 years of my life to. So it was not something that I took lightly. And at this time, he had left me. And like I say in the book, it had been nearly 6 months. And Nathan called me beautiful. We'll just call him Nathan for sake of the book. Nathan called me beautiful. And he was admiring me. And I was in this true battle between God and good sex, knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, but not really wanting to do it. If I just be honest in my heart, just not wanting to do it. And so the next part of this book, and then we're going to conclude in this chapter that I'm going to talk about, it says pain and anger has a behavior. And this goes on to further what was going on inside my head and inside my heart. Here we go. We're still in chapter 3, God versus good sex. The pain from that news was real, but it also justified my actions. I had no problem mounting Nathan later because my anger at God and my then husband was an understatement, which fueled my actions. And I was not going to be through anytime soon. If this was the result, I would create my own reward. The need for someone to hold me was real. Yeah, I get it. And this good girl knows legally I was still married, but no one else seemed to notice. Do I and did I still have to do the right thing or be a good girl? Because he sure wasn't being a good boy. But I guess that's another story. I was a good girl and a good wife. This was not supposed to happen to me. 10 years, I stood by him while he couldn't get a steady job. I protected his secrets. I had broken the should have been fall of this man's reputation one too many times. Was this really my reward for all my faithfulness and my loyalty? You have got to be kidding me. Nathan and I continued being a thing, and I continued getting my affirmation from him. He held me close whenever I needed it. Deep down, I knew it had to stop, but this touch was gentle and reassuring. Each kiss he gave me made me desire another, yet it scared me. And as much as I did not want to acknowledge it, this relationship was like a drug. My body was not supposed to yearn for him. Every thought of him caused a reaction inside of my stomach and between my legs. Wrong or right, I kept seeing him, and the moistness kept happening when he came near me. Did I sleep with Nathan over and over and over and over? Yes, I did. Was it right? No, it wasn't. My conscience, morals, standards, and ethics were trying to counsel me, but I was tired of being counseled, and I was tired of being the good girl. Been tired. Due to the fact I was not listening to the trio at this time, I had come to the conclusion that I wasn't a good girl anymore. My decision was to fight. Was it going to be this man or my God? My God versus Nathan's good sex. This was one thought that will return to me many, many times. So as you can see from this, and I open your feedback, you know, this was a time in my life where I literally was so angry with God. I mean, as a woman, and at that time, as a wife, I had done everything right. So why was I being rewarded in my thought? I mean, this is, I can talk to you like I'm reading the book because it came from the very depths of my soul. Like, I did everything right. I was faithful. I cooked, I cleaned, I washed his drawers. Like, what was the problem? Why wasn't I good enough for him to stay committed to? And so I was so angry at God. I was so angry at God. And I felt like for every time that I was having sex, even though I was still married and we were separated, getting ready to go through this divorce, I felt like every single time that we were still having sex, somehow I was just getting God back for just not making it work. And for God allowing this to happen, I just felt like I had a vendetta with him. So at that time, it was easy for me to talk about God versus good sex because I was so mad at God, but I was so enjoying the good sex. And so it's just something, it's just something that is so real. And so, it's y'all, listen, I'm sorry, wait. Y'all, that's my mama. Y'all just listen. That's my mama's comment. And so just she's still walking through forgiveness of my first husband. Y'all pray for her. Y'all pray for her. I did not expect her to put that on this feed. That's why I'm looking at that like, what the heck is that? Then I knew. But okay, Mom, you threw me off. So, I can't believe she put that on there. But yeah, so thank you, Kelly, for downloading your copy. Yes, Kimberly, thank you for having your copy. Thank you for joining me. But, this comes from a very, very, very real place. And so what I want to tell you, ladies, sincerely, when it comes to God versus good sex, is that during this chapter, I really had an opportunity to confront my anger with God and my disappointment with him. And in this part that I'm reading from that says pain has a behavior, the behavior that my pain was having was the sexual escapades. Because the person that I was messing with, this relationship, and it says it in this book, would go on for 3 long years, where I would have sex with him, and then I would battle and not have sex, and then I would go back to having sex. And that anger with God just continued to rage because I felt so let down. And I know that you guys can identify with that. I know we can all identify with feeling just let down by God sometimes. Feeling like, okay, well, God, I did everything right. Why do I have to be in a situation? I felt so betrayed on so many levels. But what God began to speak to me was that no more than I had control over him, but that God gave us all a free will. And not that God wanted me to endure that pain, but it was my ex-husband's choice. And a lot of the time, I don't think we ever get to that place. It's not God's way of making excuses. See, I think that people think that God is a genie and he could just go and everything just blinks. He could do that, but then he would be a God that runs us. And he says he's a God that loves us. We choose this day who we serve. Come on, y'all. So we choose who we serve. We choose how we want to live. And so I just implore you to think about it like that, because a lot of the time God gets a lot of our wrath because people choose different than what he would like. And in this case, my ex-husband chose different than what, I would have preferred, than what God probably would have preferred, but it happened. It happened. And so then I went on to feed my appetite, to feed my anger and my pain with this sex. And it was just sex. And if I would tell you some of the things I would go through from being stole from concerning this guy, being hit, being just times where we were having sex 24 hours a day. I'm being honest with you. Listen, hear me, 24 hours a day. Like literally laying in my room and just trying to medicate with sex. And the more I would do it, it just wouldn't help it. And the more I would do it, it just wouldn't help the pain. And the more I would do it, it just wouldn't plug it up. And the more I would do it, it just wasn't enough affirmation. There wasn't enough kisses. There wasn't enough times he could hold my back. It wasn't enough time he could rub my thigh that would suffice from the pain, the emptiness, the trauma of going through a divorce and losing someone you love. And worse, having the person that you really want to be with, loving you that way, not choose you. Not choose you. And so it was really something that was traumatic. It was really something that was traumatic. And I just want to know y'all feedback. How do you feel about those times when you've been disappointed by God? What have you self-medicated and done? Maybe you don't have an instance where you've been mad at God. Maybe you have an instance where you've been just hurt. What did you self-medicate with? In my case, it was sex. What was it with you? What did you self-medicate with? And in this book, at the end of each chapter, there's a place for you to write. And I have different inspirational thoughts. And I have a place in here. It says a place for you to know what you are learning about you. This is a time for you, what you're learning about you. We could point the finger. I could point the finger at my ex-husband all day long. And believe me, there's a juicy book that does point the finger. Amen. But in this case, this was God's mirror for me. This was God's mirror for me. My heart, what I was dealing with, being perfect. Does perfect means a perfect result? Does living the right way means that everything has to be exactly the way you think it should be? Does that mean there shouldn't be any wrong? There shouldn't be any turmoil. There shouldn't be any strife just because you've done everything right. We know that that's not the life. That's not the world that we live in. So, and it's okay to be a good girl, you guys. I just really want you to be able to get this book and us discuss it, because I think that this chapter was just one that was so hard to write, because at first I was a little embarrassed to put it out there. But you guys, I want to go to a commercial real quick. And I want you to be just thinking about that. And I want you to just answer that. Take time to answer that question. When you've been upset before, what have you self-medicated with? What's been your drug of choice when you're hurt and when you're in the middle of a traumatic situation? So you guys stay tuned. This is Lady J Speaks. We'll come back with another chapter called Stand Firm in Your Pumps. But I want you to be thinking about that question, and let's talk about it when I get back. Thank you so much. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me. We back. I know you just saw the advertisement for my concert that's coming up on May 2nd, 2020, right here on Facebook and YouTube, streaming live, my poetic concert, Inspired Heart. You guys join me. Make plans to join me. Make plans to share it. It's going to start at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is going to be amazing. We had practice today. It's just going to be lit. I know it's going to be a lot of stuff you're not expecting. So make plans to join me. Okay, make plans. Listen, we're going to get into the second chapter of this book, which is called Stand Firm in Your Pumps. Okay? Stand firm in your pumps. And ladies, I still want you to answer me that. What things have you medicated with when you found yourself in a traumatic situation? Let's talk about that. Whether we're talking about it right now and I read a little further into the next chapter and then we come back to it. I want to know, I want Lady J Speaks to always be a safe place where you can come and talk about those topics that make you uncomfortable. Because I'm not a person that gets easily uncomfortable by stuff. And I thank God for that gift, because it enables me to be able to confront other issues that people wouldn't normally talk about. Transparency is one of the gifts that my husband and I share. And so we're able to stand toe to toe with different things. And so Vanessa Taylor said food. So food is something that she medicates with when she's going through trauma. I know I can identify with that. Recently, I've been confronted with making sure that I let myself feel and don't eat what I'm feeling. So I've been challenging my own self that with weight control, just making sure that I'm feeling what I'm feeling and I'm not just eating that feeling away, right? So that I can get some much needed relief and healing and weight release. Weight release, that's so important. So it's just one of my goals. So food is something we definitely medicate ourselves with when we're going through something. So let's jump right into chapter 6 in the book. This is It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. And it's sold on Amazon. And Kelly is right. You can download it or you can order from Amazon, the hard copy. Okay, the hard copy. And then we have my other book, which is Hope Exposed. And that one is also on Amazon, but it's only available with the digital copy, And there's some really good stuff on Hope Exposed, some just amazing stuff. Amazing. So you guys, let's get right into chapter 6. Let's talk a little bit about this. And then I'll be out of your way so you can enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And this one is called Stand Firm in Your Pumps. It says, I don't want you to make the mistake of thinking that standing on morality and ethics is going to be easy. You must be committed to it. In addition, you must also be committed to the why of your convictions. Also, your convictions should be firm, able to withstand diverse opinions, which will challenge its validity and importance. You must understand this. This declaration is for you. I will be committed to the why of my conviction. James 1:6-8 speaks about allowing a man to ask for anything with their faith solely in God while not doubting. It goes on to say that a man who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. The term man used in this scripture equally qualifies a woman. So yes, good girl, this applies to you. Listen, every woman under the sound of my voice is a good girl. It's so important that we as women, understand our value and be able to support our value with making the right decisions. And me, in writing this chapter, I wanted women to understand that you're going to have to support the why of your convictions. Oftentimes we know why we do something, but under the right kind of pressure, and there's a chapter in here that is called Pressure Busts a Pipe. Under the right pressure, we tend to break a little bit in our convictions. We tend to shift. We tend to become real shaky, especially if it means acceptance. That's the reason why I says this book spans the gamut in age, because whether you're 9 or 99, we can all understand what it's like to undergo peer pressure. Come on. We're in an age where we have the Don't Rush Challenge, and we see the healthy older women, and we see the beautiful younger women. It's so easy to get caught up in trying to feel the pressure to fit in. And so I wrote this chapter, Stand Firm in Your Pumps, is because we're going to have to stand on the point of understanding why we do what we do. So if you make a decision not to have sex before marriage, understand why you're doing it. And your conviction should be able to withstand different types of pressure that people are going to bring on you. That's what standing firm in your pumps is about. It's not about perfection. It's not about making the perfect decision every single time. That's not even possible. We're not going to always make the perfect decision, but we should be able to support our decision without having to feel so much pressure and feel so much guilt. And that's another thing that the enemy is so cunning about, is making sure that we feel guilty about making good decisions for ourselves. And in this book, I want you to know, and especially in this chapter, that it's okay. It's okay to have ethics. It's okay to have values. It's okay to have a standard. And it's okay not to negotiate it. People love to say, well, you got to relax. You got to kind of, let it go. Don't be so uptight. And so what they're saying is that having ethics and having values makes you uptight. And I say that's absolutely incorrect. What it does is it makes me stable. And some people would say, oh, that makes you predictable. No, it makes me sound. Come on, somebody. You see how they try to trick you with that? No, it makes you a sound person. When you have ethics and values and morals that you're not willing to compromise on, some people may take it as you being uptight, but no, it makes you a sound person. That's the reason why, listen, y'all, today, why people don't like messing with God, because he ain't coming back to change that word. That word say, don't have sex before marriage. People still trying to negotiate that. God ain't changing the scriptures. Hello? Jesus ain't coming down the cross again for us. He done already done that. He done died and rose again. Amen. He ain't negotiating that. You understand what I'm saying? God is standing firm on his values. And what he's telling you as a good girl is to stand firm in your values. You ain't got to negotiate this. You understand what I'm saying? So just know that that type of negotiation is not necessary. You can just be who you are and feel comfortable in that, you know? And we're allowed to get better, ladies. If you've made the wrong decision before, we're allowed to get better. We're allowed to change our mind. We're allowed to say no. Come on. We're allowed to say maybe. We can think about it. We can decide we don't want to do it. Just flat out, no, we ain't going to do it. So I just, I want to encourage you that wherever you are, stand firm in that. And you don't owe anybody an explanation as to why, unless you want to give it. Okay? So all the guilt, all the embarrassment, all the shame, let that stuff fall away as you reconcile who you are within yourself. And so that people will be able to know how far they can go with you and how far they can't. Because this stand firm in your pumps is also about having boundaries. Come on, we miss that sometimes. Having boundaries. It can be scary to have boundaries because it can be to keep things in and keep people out. That's just the truth of the matter. And I think sometimes we need permission to feel comfortable with boundaries. Well, ladies, you have permission to feel comfortable with your boundaries. You have permission. You have permission to draw a line between you and foolishness all day long without any apologies. And so that is one thing that I want you to get, if you don't get anything else, is that it's okay to be you. There's other chapters in the book like good girl versus bad girl. When you talk about a girl that goes to church versus a girl that doesn't, that battle plays out in this chapter. You want to read that because sometimes we as women that are considered good girls get a little bit cocky. We get a little conceited and realize, and sometimes think we couldn't ever be classified as a bad girl. But I'm telling you now, I was in that classification. So what I'm telling you is that irregardless of where you feel like you are, no one should have to feel like they're above the next. We're all in this same boat trying to do it the right way. And sometimes our right is wrong, and sometimes our wrong is how come, and our how come is hell no, don't do that no more. And it spans the gamut. So this is saying that there really shouldn't be any battle between the good girl and the bad girl, but it often is. And so I talk about that in this chapter. And so I want us to begin to come on better alliances as women, just on the same accord, willing to support and encourage one another. And that's what that chapter is about. So I think that you'll really, really, really enjoy that. Really enjoy that. So I want to take any questions or concerns you guys have. I want to be able to answer questions about the book. Did you hear something that you had questions about? And I want to ask you a question. I'm going to go through real quick and just real quick for the essence of time, because I normally stay on here an hour, but I also like to make sure that I don't belabor the point. So I'm going to read a couple of chapters in the book. Is there anything else you want me to read about before I go? Just give you a snippet on. You tell me, do y'all want me to kind of go through a little bit more of God versus good sex? Or do we want to go ahead? My husband is over here saying yes, yes. Or we want to talk about chapter 2. What is a good girl? Values, morals, and upbringing. What do y'all want to do? I'll give y'all a choice. Let me go to the other chapter just a second. Rightly dividing a fad. How do I do that? Oh, I love this chapter. This is one of the chapters that I'm just like, I wish this in the hands of all of our teenagers. Like, how do I rightly divide a fad? Should I even be participating in that? Is that something that's for me or not? I'm telling you, this book is not about a judgment call. It's a call to judgment about who you are as a woman and why you're doing what you're doing as a woman or as a girl. And I state that in my book. Chapter 2. Okay. Is that the last chapter we got? The last vote we got? Chapter 2. Good girl versus bad girl. Y'all read that. That's about my mama. That is about my mama. I'm kind of telling her business. But do y'all know that older women, real talk, you guys, you know what? This is a good place to land our hat. Do you not know that older women have the same battle as younger women do when it comes to sex and being pressured? My mom is single. She's a widow. And let me just say, I talk about the fact that she very much wanted to fight the bad girl. Okay? Because she had a man that she was interested in, but he made it very clear that he wanted sex, and she was making a stand that she did not. And we're talking about 50 something plus years old. This is not, age doesn't matter. This is age across the gamut. So I want y'all to know there's something for everybody in this book. And so I talk about her battle with that. You know, being an older woman and feeling like a good girl, but feeling like she's losing the battle to all the bad girls. And it wasn't necessarily about age. It was just about the women that were willing to compromise. Do you hear what I'm saying on today? So this battle of it's okay to be a good girl, everyone feels it at every level, at every age. So do we have any other chapters? So we have good girl versus bad girl. And y'all voting for chapter 2. Okay. God versus good sex. I guess everybody want to hear a little bit more about that. I tell you what, I'll read a little bit more about that. And like I said, I'm still taking questions. Y'all on here, so what y'all thinking about? What y'all thinking about? I want to make sure I ain't missing no questions. And I'll go back to chapter 2. Okay, so I was reading a little bit from Pain and Anger Has a Behavior. Let's see. So I say this, let me start from here. So I say, wrong or right, I kept seeing him and the moistness kept happening. When he came near me, did I sleep with Nathan over and over and over and over and over? Yes, I did. Was it right? No, it wasn't. My conscience, morals, standards, and ethics were trying to counsel me, but I was tired of being counseled, and I was tired of being the good girl. Then tired. Due to the fact that I was not listening to the trio at the time, I had come to the conclusion that I wasn't a good girl anymore. My decision was the fight. Was it going to be man or my God? My God versus Nathan's good sex. This one thought would return to me many times. Did the decision really need to be made between those two? That I felt like I had to ask tore me apart. Nevertheless, God knew that I loved him, but I also craved Nathan. Then I had to face a hard truth. My cravings had become equal with God in my life. Let's be real here. The sex was not going to heal me, but at the time, it was the reminder of my beauty and my actuality of still very much being someone's choice. That fed me. In hindsight, I know now that my relationship was just as much about me being Nathan's choice as it was about the physical intimacy. I had to learn this lesson about myself so I could deal with the effects of rejection and anger due to a failed relationship. This experience was not supposed to end up in this book, but I can't neglect to tell you vividly how intense my struggle was mentally, physically, and spiritually regarding being the good girl that I was when I was a once married woman, as well as giving you an authentic look into how my anger and pain was acting out. There is no way I'm going to let you think that this good girl did not become the puppet of her trauma. Some will probably wonder if I am somehow glorifying what I did. The answer is no, I'm not. I am being open and honest in order to teach it. I must tell it like it is. Remember what you read back at the beginning of chapter 1. This book is not a judgment call. It is a book to call judgment to who you are, what you are doing it, what you are doing, and why you are doing it as a girl or as a woman. So you guys, get your copy. Get your copy of It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. I'm telling you, it will bless your life. My suggestion is, I know that it's a bit racy. It talks a little bit racy in the beginning, but I think our teenagers can handle it. It's definitely protected by sound wisdom and counsel. So I'm not just throwing it out there and not having the appropriate conversation around it, you guys. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to be right back, and then I'm going to close out with my final thoughts. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Hey, you guys, thank you for hanging in there with me. Listen, go and cop your copy of It's Okay to Be a Good Girl. And while you're at it, download your digital copy of Hope Exposed. It's some really good principles. I'll go over this one next week. It's some really, really, really good stuff. God talks about, gave me some crazy stuff about hope. And so I'm exposing it in a totally different way, you guys. It's under my pen name, Arthur JW. Arthur JW. It sounds like J. Blue. My husband said he thought he was marrying a French woman. I was like, no, she's straight black. But it's all good, amen. So, you guys, thank you for joining Lady J Speaks. I always want to make sure that I don't waste your time, that I'm giving you valuable information and stuff that you can use currently. Come on, because we need that in our lives. You guys, don't forget to join me May 2nd, 2020, right here on Facebook and YouTube, streaming live. And guess what? Speaking of YouTube, I actually have a contest going on. Listen, I'm going to choose 3 people to give $25 to, but this is what I need, okay? I have not been that great at promoting my YouTube, but now I'm getting on it. I'm getting on my YouTube. And so I want to make sure that you know that you guys get an opportunity, if you don't have Facebook, to join in with me in everything that I do. I stream live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I want you guys to be able to partake in the new things that I'll be doing on Tuesday and Thursday nights. Okay, that'll be also on YouTube. So this is what I'm doing. I'm giving 3 people $25 and I'm picking them. Go sign up for my YouTube. It's Lady J TMP, which stands for the musical poetress. Okay. And so you guys go sign up. Encourage your friends and families to sign up. I need 100 people, like stat. Right now I'm at probably about 20. So I'm actively now making sure that I include that on everything that I talk about. Facebook has done very well and has done an amazing job. But I want to make sure that the YouTube presence is out there so that our children, our young America, our youth, and even our older adults and middle-aged adults get some really good information that's not cussing every 5 minutes. Come on. They need some good information. Not just that, but some good music. And so my album will be on there, Lady J, the musical poetress. My album entitled The Brain Box. And so I'm super excited about that, you guys. That will all be on my YouTube channel. You'll be able to see that. I'll be doing exclusives on my YouTube channel. That's my album cover, The Brain Box of a Poetic Prophet. So you guys can go get that on everywhere. It's on Spotify. It's on Instagram Music. And it's soon to be on TikTok. You guys go check it out. I'm telling you, May 2nd, 2020, right here, Facebook, YouTube, my Inspired Heart concert. Make plans to be there and share the live. I'm telling you, it starts at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You will not regret it. So you guys have an amazing week. I'll see you later. Bless my heart. My husband does too much. That's what that is. Okay, I'm going now for real.
Your neck, taking out a Christian. Muslim singing with the shit. That was a sin, that's just a fact. Yo, who you gon' tell when I read? Showing off your ass, cause you thinking it's a trend. Let me break it down for you again. You know I only say it cause I'm true legit. To be a hard rock when you're really on shit, baby. Respect is just a minimum. Joggers mess up and you still do. It's up to think I have a period to the second. Medicine inside your head like I know you women. If you really can't, it's not even girls, tell they souls because it's look at where you been. Hair weaves like you've been paying straight nails about for it. I'm a cut. I'm a cut. Turn the lights on. Girls, you know you better watch out. Some guys are only about that thing.
Say what?
Second verse is dedicated to the men. Walk a sign with his rims and his hymns and his women. Him and his men. Come in the club like hooligans. They don't care who they are. They come and they got you. I end up not pretending when the pep pissed out of the waist. Spinning pissed out of the case. In their mother's basement. Pretty face men claiming that they did a plan. Need to take care of they do it for again. Basic court case when the child supports late. When they take out my cricket. You want women hate me. Vicky Solomon. Y'all don't want to mix the balance. We just shoot the semen. Acting like horse and women. How you gon' win when you ain't right? How you gon' win when you ain't right? How you gon' win when you ain't right? Yeah, I'm a cat. I'm a cat. I'm a cat. I'm a cat. Watch out.
Watch out.
Look out. Watch out.
Watch out.
Look out. Watch out. Watch out. Look out. Watch out. Look out. Guys, you know you better watch out because some girls are only
What you say?
about that thing. Gonna use that thing. Come on. Niggas, we love you. Niggas, we love you. We love you. Niggas, we love you. I said, girls, you know you better watch out because some guys sometimes are only about that thing.